Today, Katy Patrick lives a quiet, ordinary life, working as a student advisor at a university in Washington state. But 5,000 miles away, the South Korean police hold an active warrant for her arrest for a brutal 1988 murder. Her roommates, Katy Patrick and Sandra Ames, were the ones who reported finding the body and helped establish the break-in narrative for local police. But when U.S. Army investigators took over the case, the story shifted. Sandra Ames eventually confessed that Katy was the killer and had forced her to help cover it up. The roommates' paths immediately diverged. Sandra went to a South Korean prison, while Katy fled to the United States. While she had physically crossed the border, her true protection was a massive blind spot in international law. Once Katy was back in Washington state, it seemed the South Korean government could simply demand her return to face trial. However, in 1989, the United States and South Korea did not have an extradition treaty. Without that formal agreement, South Korea had no legal mechanism to compel the U.S. government to hand over an American citizen. This left the question of why the FBI or local police couldn't just step in and make the arrest themselves. At the time, U.S. law dictated that jurisdiction for state-level crimes like murder was strictly territorial. You had to be tried where the crime actually happened. This chart shows the deadlock. South Korea had the jurisdiction, but lacked the suspect. The U.S. had the suspect, but lacked the jurisdiction. Katy Patrick existed in a state of total immunity, physically beyond South Korea's reach, and legally beyond America's jurisdiction. U.S. authorities tried to find another way to hold her accountable. The FBI even wiretapped Sandra Ames, hoping Katy would admit to the crime or commit perjury, but they never got the confession they needed. Driven by the Able family's lobbying, Congress was forced to address the gap in the law that allowed a murder suspect to live openly. In 1994, a new law was passed, finally granting the U.S. the authority to prosecute nationals who kill other Americans while in foreign countries. But the law was not retroactive. Because the murder happened in 1988, the new statute could not be applied to Katy Patrick. Since then, South Korea's statute of limitations has expired and the physical evidence has been destroyed. Katy Patrick will never face a trial. The system eventually evolved to protect future victims, but it did so at the expense of justice for Carolyn Able. It is a reminder that legal blind spots are often only visible to those who have already fallen through them.